Chapter 2. A chair by the blue fire. The corridor did not end so much as decide she had been prepared for the room. Evara felt the decision before she saw it. The stone under her feet cooled. The air widened. Pell stopped breathing behind her, or made the little gulping sound that passed for it in him. Nim whispered something too fast to catch, and then choked on his own words. Ahead the song changed. Not louder, clearer. It had been coming through walls, through floors, through the deep grain of the last house. Here it came through air. Evara stopped at the threshold. The chamber beyond was large enough to make the word room feel ashamed of itself. Its ceiling vanished into a dim height where blue light moved like water above stone. Black columns rose along the walls, polished smooth, except where seams of pale writing glimmered and went dark again. Shelves stood in long ranks on the far side, each fitted with narrow drawers. Some were open by a finger's width. Some trembled as the song passed. Some were locked with threads of blue fire, fine as hair. At the center of the chamber burned a hearth. No wood fed it, no coal. A low blue flame turned over itself in the mouth of a black stone fireplace, giving light, but almost no heat. In front of it stood a table set with one cup, one knife, one empty plate, and a chair drawn back slightly, as if someone had risen a moment ago and might return before the food cooled. There was no food, only the place for it. That was worse, somehow. Evara's stomach tightened around the memory of broth. Saim's cup, real fat, tremoring on top. Her father's ashed corner of bread, the seed pouch falling from her hand. She made herself look away from the table. Pell and Nim had gone still on either side of her. Pell stood with both hands clasped behind his back, trying to look like a guard, and achieving the expression of a dog caught with stolen meat. Nim had folded his arms tightly over his chest, but his fingers kept twitching against his sleeves, counting something only he knew. Neither crossed the threshold. Evara looked down. A narrow line ran across the floor, just before her toes. Not carved, not painted. A change in the stone, so faint she might have missed it if she had not spent half her life noticing cracks before they widened. "Can I cross?" she asked. Pell's eyes widened. Nim shut his. A voice from inside the room said, "You already have in every way that matters." The song ceased. The silence, after it was enormous. Evara did not step back. She wanted to. Her body wanted to. The old training in her counted distances without permission. 3 steps behind to the sealed wall. No side passage. Pell too short to hide behind, and Nim too thin. Hearth ahead. Table left. Shelves right. No visible door except the one she stood in. No knife she could reach before the thing in the room did. The knife on the table was too far. The plate might break if thrown. The chair could become a barrier if she got behind it. Ridiculous. She was in the last house. The rules of kitchens and bad rooms did not matter here. Her body disagreed and kept counting. Something moved beside the blue fire. At first, she thought it was smoke. Then the smoke gathered itself. A man sat where no chair had been a breath before, or perhaps the chair had always been there, and her mind had refused to look at it. He was not made of smoke, though shadow clung to him with the loyalty of clothing. He had a body because he had chosen one. Long hands resting on the arms of a high black chair. Dark hair swept back from a face too still to be young and too unlined to be old. Skin pale where the blue fire touched it, and almost grey where it did not. His eyes were the colour of a room after the last lamp goes out. He did not lean forward. He did not rise. He only looked at her, and the chamber seemed to look with him. Pell dropped to one knee, then remembered he had 2, and dropped the other. Nim folded down more carefully but faster. His forehead nearly touched the floor. Evara remained standing, not because she was brave, because her legs had forgotten the order. The man by the fire looked at Pell and Nim. "You found her." Pell's mouth opened. Nim made a small, urgent sound. Pell closed his mouth. Nim said, "In a procedural sense, my lord, she was encountered before she was located, and then she relocated herself through several unauthorized passages before we were able to establish a meaningful custodial position." Pell stared at him. Nim added, "We accompanied." The man's gaze moved to Pell. Pell swallowed. Responsibly, the silence did not change, but both creatures seemed to shrink inside it. Then the man looked back at Evara. "Evara Soln," he said. Her name in his mouth did not sound like Orren saying it. Orren made her name warm, even when he did not mean to. He put want around it, sometimes too much, sometimes enough that she had to step back to remember where her own edges were. This man did not warm it. He weighed it, not like judgment, like a clerk weighing grain, or a farmer lifting seed in the palm to know whether spring had any chance at all. "How do you know my name?" she asked. Pell made a wounded noise. Nim whispered, "That is not how one begins." The man did not look offended. "Most arrive with one," he said. "Most?" "Yes, and the ones who don't. They are found by what remains." Ivara's throat tightened. She did not want to ask what remained of her. Ash, salt, a lost boot, a burned hand, a name in Orren's mouth, somewhere above or behind, or not at all. She kept her eyes on the man by the fire. "Who are you?" Pell's head lifted in horror. Nim made an even smaller sound, and pressed his forehead back to the stone. The man's fingers rested motionless on the arms of his chair. "Volos," he said. "Lord below." The chamber accepted the name without echo. Evara had expected a name like that to strike through her. Thunder, fire, the floor, opening. Something large enough to match the stories old women lowered their voices to tell. Instead, he said it as if it had been a duty too long held to require ceremony. Volos, the Lord below, the one whose house she had entered wrong, the one whose song had moved through stone and found a place behind her ribs where exhaustion lived. Evara looked at the blue fire, because looking at him had begun to feel like standing too near a drop. "Am I dead?" she asked. Pell sucked in air through his teeth. Nim whispered, better question. Still abrupt." Volos answered, "Yes." The word entered her cleanly. She had known. Of course she had known. The stone, the lack of blood, the drowned lungs that hurt without water, the creatures, the house, the song, the way the world had changed its materials without asking her. Still, some final foolish part of the body had been waiting for a mistake, a fever dream, a shore cave, a strange country below a cliff. Anything but yes. Her knees weakened. She locked them. Volos watched the effort, noted it, did not comment. That restraint made her angrier than pity would have. "Where is Orren?" "Not here." "Is he dead?" "No." The answer came so quickly that she nearly lost breath. "No, alive." Evara closed her eyes before the relief could show too much. It showed anyway. Relief was a rude thing. It used the whole body, if not watched. Her shoulders dropped. Her good hand, which had curled without her noticing, opened at her side. The burned one throbbed beneath its grey bandage. Orren was alive. Ahead of her, behind her, somewhere not here. The old anger rose under the relief at once because both had room. He had followed the song. She had followed him. He was alive. She was here. "Where is he?" she asked. Volos looked at the blue fire. The flame bent toward him, though no wind moved. Above. Above where? Where the living waste their hours, fearing this one. Pell lifted one finger as if to correct something, saw Nim's eyes, and lowered it. Evara took a step into the chamber. Nothing stopped her. The faint line at the threshold did not flare. Pell did not leap. Nim did not faint. Volos did not move. That somehow made the room larger. "I want to go to him," she said. Yes. Evara waited. Volos did not continue. Yes, what? Yes, he said. You want that. Her teeth pressed together. Pel's shoulders crept toward his ears. Nim looked as if he were attempting to become smaller by will alone. I asked. No, Volos said. The word did what his name had not. It landed with walls around it. Evara felt heat rise in her face. You do not know what I was going to ask. I know where the question leads. To a door. To an absence of one. She stared at him. The blue fire moved over his face and found no softness there. No anger either. He was not enjoying this. That was not comfort. You brought me here, she said. No. This is your house. Yes. Then you brought me. The sea killed you. The house received you. I was not received. Pel said I was in the wrong place. Pel made a noise in the back of his throat. Volos' eyes moved to him. Pel looked at the floor. I may have used location language. She is not wrong, Nim said faintly. Pel glared at him. Nim whispered, accuracy is safest after the fact. Volos did not rebuke them. Evara noticed. He allowed fear in his servants, but not lies, or not unnecessary ones. That was worth knowing. I woke in stone, she said, not with other dead, not at a river, not anywhere that seemed ready for me. No. Why? Volos looked back to her. For the first time she saw something like interest move behind the stillness. Not surprise. Interest. That was worse. You tell me, he said. I don't know. No? She took another step. Is that answer or agreement? Both. Evara wanted to throw the empty plate at him. The wanting steadied her. Volos's gaze shifted to her bandaged hand. You are hurt. She nearly laughed. I drowned. That is not what I meant. She tucked the burned hand closer to her side before she could stop herself. His eyes followed the motion. Not the way Orren's would have. Orren saw hurt and leaned toward it. Volos saw hurt and measured the space around it. You may sit, Evara Soln. A chair appeared beside the fire. No flash, no smoke curling into shape. It was simply there between one blink and the next, angled slightly toward the hearth, not too close to Volos's own seat, not too far from the warmthless flame. Plain, black wood, a high back, arms worn smooth where hands had rested for years or centuries. A footstool beneath it. Evara stared at it. Her body understood the chair before her mind did. Sit. The word moved through her muscles like water downhill. She had been standing since the field, since the house, since the ship, since the sea, since waking on gravel. She had stood before her father, before fire, before rain, before Captain Veus, before the rail, before the open water, before death itself. Even when Same had told her to sit, she had sat because her legs had already begun to fail, not because the world had made room for rest. This chair waited. No bargain spoken, no hand on her sleeve, no song. What happens if I don't? She asked. You remain standing. No impatience, no threat. The chair stood in the blue light. Evara looked at Pel and Nim. Pel's face had gone strange. He looked at the chair the way a hungry dog might look at a bowl put down by a cruel owner, hope and memory fighting in the same small body. Nim watched Volos instead. Interesting. Evara remained standing. Her feet hurt. That was new. She had not noticed them since waking. Now, because the chair existed, her body remembered every step. The dead field. The yard. The road to Orren. The gangplank. The deck. The broken passage. The jump into water. The impossible floor of the last house. Pain returned, as if invited by the sight of relief. Her knees trembled. Volos did not look away to spare her. That almost made her refuse. Almost. Then she thought of the passenger room, of telling Orren not to hum, because she did not want to be moved without choosing. No one moved her now. She crossed to the chair and sat. The chair took her weight without complaint. It did not creak. It did not sag. It did not remind her that the house was poor, that she had chosen wrong, that sitting was laziness if there was water to fetch or turnips to cut smaller. It held. Evara gripped the chair arms with both hands. The burned one protested under bandage. She did not release. Something hot filled her eyes, of all times, in front of him. She blinked hard, but the tears came anyway. Not sobs, not yet. 2 lines down her face, warm enough that she hated them. Volos watched her weep and said nothing. That was worse than kindness, too. Pell shifted on his knees. Nim whispered, "Do we continue kneeling?" Pell whispered back, "I have lost feeling in my left leg. You are mostly spite and smoke. Spite gets pins too." Volos said, "Rise." Both creatures sprang up too quickly. Pell stumbled. Nim caught him, then pretended he had not. Evara wiped her face with the back of her good hand. No one mentioned it. Good. Bad. The blue fire turned over itself in the hearth. Its light moved across the table's empty plate. Evara looked at it despite herself. Volos followed her gaze. "You hunger by habit. I hunger because I have not eaten enough. You are dead." I noticed. The dead do not hunger as the living do. Her mouth tightened. Do the dead always accept that when told? No. She looked at him. A servant who was neither Pell nor Nim came from the shadow beside the shelves. Evara had not seen it before. It was taller than the 2 creatures, robed in a grey cloth that did not quite touch the floor. Its face was hidden by a veil of thin black gauze. Its hands were long, bone-coloured, and careful. It carried a small tray. Pell and Nim both stood straighter. The servant set the tray on the table beside Evara and withdrew without a word. On the tray sat a cup of dark broth and 1 piece of bread. Evara stared at the bread. It was not Mara's bread. It was too smooth. No ash at the torn edge. No hard crust saved from smoke and poor flour. It looked soft enough to press a thumb into. It smelled of grain and salt and something green. Her stomach clenched. She did not reach. Volos said, "You may eat." "What does it cost?" Pell looked quickly at Nim. Nim looked at the ceiling. Volos said, "Nothing." "No?" His eyes rested on her. "Nothing costs nothing," she said. For the first time, the corner of Volos's mouth changed. Not a smile, a recognition of shape. "No bargain is attached to the food," he said. "That is not the same answer." No. She almost hated him less for admitting it. Almost. "What does it cost?" she asked again. "Time." Evara looked at the tray. "How much?" "As much as eating takes." "That sounds like a trick." "It is a fact. Facts make fine tricks when arranged by men." "Men?" Volos asked. The chamber grew colder by 1 small degree. Evara should have lowered her eyes. She had spent years lowering her eyes. She knew exactly how. She did not. Gods arranged them too, I expect. Pell covered his face with both hands. Nim whispered, "I knew the irregularity would have opinions." Volos looked at her for a long moment. Then he leaned back. "Yes," he said, "just that." "Yes." Evara's hand moved before she meant it to. She took the bread. No chain rose from the table. No record drawer slammed open. No blue fire swallowed her. The bread was warm against her fingers. She tore it in half and set 1/2 aside. Volos noticed. Of course he did. He did not ask why. That was one of the cruelest mercies yet. She ate the smaller half. The taste nearly undid her. Bread should not have been able to do that. It was only bread. Soft, salted, faintly sweet at the center. It broke on her tongue and filled her mouth with a warmth that went nowhere her body truly needed, but everywhere memory did. Her father had eaten the ashed corner. Mara had given back more than half. The seed pouch had fallen. She swallowed. When she opened her eyes, Volos was watching the fire, not her. Pell was watching the remaining bread with naked longing. Nim was watching Pell watching the bread. Evara picked up the other half and held it toward Pell. Pell froze. Nim whispered, "Do not." Pell whispered, "I know." His eyes did not leave the bread. Evara held it out another inch. Pell swallowed. Volos said nothing. That made everyone more afraid. Pell's hand lifted. Nim seized his wrist. "We do not take food from guests." "Is she a guest?" Pell whispered. "I am reviewing." Evara lowered the bread. "Do you eat?" Pell said, "Yes." Nim said, "Not that." Pell said, "I could." Nim said, "You could chew curtain fringe and call it supper." Pell looked offended. "That was once. You were ill for 3 days. I was experimental." Evara tore a tiny piece from the bread and set it on the edge of the tray, rather than putting it in Pell's hand. "There," she said. Nim looked at Volos. Volos looked at the crumb. The blue fire did not change. Pell snatched the piece and ate it so fast, Evara almost missed the movement. His eyes closed. For one heartbeat, he looked like the little boy under the low beam table, claiming he was asleep with the spoon in his fist. Then Pell opened his eyes, realized everyone had seen, and folded his arms. "Acceptable." Nim exhaled through his nose. "We will be killed for crumbs one day." "No," Volos said. Both creatures stiffened. Volos looked at Pell. "Not for crumbs." Pell nodded. Very quickly. Evara drank the broth next. It was not like Syme's. No fish, no onion. It tasted of root and iron and dark leaves. It warmed her mouth, but not her fingers. Her body accepted it uncertainly, as if it had received a letter addressed to someone else and was deciding whether to answer. When she set the cup down, the tray was taken away by the veiled servant. The uneaten smear of broth inside it vanished with the cup. Evara watched it go. She could get used to food arriving without work. The thought frightened her badly. She sat straighter. Volos saw. "You are tired past sleep," he said. The words should not have touched her. They did. No one had ever named it correctly. Orren saw she was thin, hurt, hungry, cold. He saw the red around her knuckles, and wanted to make a song of it before he learned how to hold it plainly. Mara saw the need for bread and returned too much. Syme saw burns and wrapped them. Her father had seen labor, disobedience, betrayal, his dead wife in her face. Volos saw tired, not sleepy, not weak. Tired past sleep. Evara gripped the chair arms again. "Most mortals arrive afraid," he said. "You arrived working." She looked at him sharply. His face had not changed. There was no softness there, no warmth, but there was a tension, exact and undeceived. "I was trying to find someone," she said. "Yes." "Orren." "Yes." "Do you know him?" "I know of him." "What does that mean?" "It means his name has reached places ahead of him." Evara did not like that. Orren would. That made her like it less. "Is he in danger?" "He is alive." "That is not what I asked." "No." She leaned forward. "Is he in danger?" Volos rested one long hand on the chair arm. The fingers did not drum, did not fidget, did not betray impatience. All living things are in danger. It is a condition they mistake for variety. That is a god's answer. "Yes, I do not want one." "Then ask a smaller question." Her jaw tightened. "Smaller truths fit through narrower doors," someone might have said. Not to her. She did not know why the thought came that way. Like a voice passing in the corridor. She asked, Is he coming here? Volos did not answer immediately. The fire bent lower. Pell and Nim went still again. At last Volos said, "He may try." Hope rose so quickly that it hurt. Volos watched that too. "He will?" Evara said. Yes, it should have comforted her. Instead, something cold opened beneath the hope. Orren would come. Of course he would. He would come with blood on his sleeve, and a song in his throat, and the whole of himself shaped around reaching her. He would come because he loved her. He would come because he could not bear not coming. He would come because not coming would leave him alone with the question of the water, and Orren had never been good at rooms where no one answered. "He should not," she said. Volos's gaze sharpened. The words had surprised her too. Pell looked confused. Nim did not. Evara looked into the blue fire. "He is hurt." "Yes." "He should be somewhere warm." "He is walking away from warmth." The sentence settled between them. "Toward me," she said. Volos said nothing. That silence had weight. She turned to him. "Do not make that sound foolish." "I did not." "You thought it." "I do not need to think mortals foolish. They provide evidence." Anger saved her from something softer. "You sing to the dead and sit alone by a cold fire," she said. "Do gods provide evidence too?" Pell made a small choking sound. Nim whispered, "We are dead." Pell whispered, "We will be deader." Volos did not look away from Evara. For the first time, something moved across his face that might have been pain if pain had learned to stand perfectly still. "Yes," he said. The answer took the anger from her hands and left her holding nothing. The room seemed very large again. Evara looked at the second chair. She had not noticed it before. Not the one she sat in. Not Volos's high black seat. Another chair stood near the table's far end, half in shadow, turned slightly toward the hearth. It was simpler than Volos's, carved with a pattern of leaves around the arms. Not dead leaves, living ones. The carving was so fine that the leaf edges looked soft enough to bend. No one sat there. No dust lay on it. Nothing in this chamber seemed to gather dust unless allowed. Evara looked at Pell. Pell stared at the floor. She looked at Nim. Nim pressed his lips shut so tightly they nearly disappeared. "Whose chair is that?" Evara asked. The chamber changed. Not visibly. The blue fire folded inward, a flame becoming a fist. Volos did not look at the chair. "Not yours," he said. The answer was quiet. It closed more doors than it opened. Evara should have let it lie. She thought of her mother's comb, kept too high, a thing that belonged to an absence but ruled the room all the same. She said, "That was not what I asked." "No." "Will you answer?" "No." There were no teeth in the word. That made it final, in a way teeth could not. Evara looked back at the chair. Leaves. Fine carving. A place held ready, or never surrendered. Someone who returns, she thought, though she did not know why. The chamber's records shifted in their drawers. A faint whisper passed through the wall behind her, too low to separate into words. Evara's burned hand began to ache more sharply. She set it in her lap and unfolded the bandage a little at the wrist, needing something practical to do before the air in the room taught her too much. The skin beneath was angry and blistered, but not as bad as it had been. Or perhaps death made injury indecisive. Volos watched her hand. "Who wrapped it?" he asked. "Same." He knew the name. She saw it. "Ankistro's man," Volos said. The room went cold. Evara went colder. Pell looked at Nim. Nim looked at Volos. Volos did not seem to regret speaking the name. Evara's mouth had gone dry. "You know Captain Veus?" "Yes." The gloved hand, the broken doorway, the voice, the gangplank, the way he had said he was sorry for the weather. "What is he to you?" "A servant." The word fell clean, too clean. Evara stood. The chair did not hold her. Good. The room did not move to stop her. Better. Did you send him? Pell whispered. Oh, no. Nim whispered. This is becoming organized. Volos looked at her across the blue fire. For what? She hated him. For making her say it. For my father. Volos's face remained still. No, she did not breathe. No, a clean answer. Maybe true. Maybe exact enough to hide worse things behind it. Did you send him to Orren? She asked. No. Did you send him to the ship? Yes. The truth struck her harder than the denials. For Orren? Yes. Why? Volos's eyes moved, not away, but deeper into her face. Because certain songs open certain doors. Evara thought of Orren on deck, drawn toward the voices. Orren in the field, with a ship in his pocket. Orren's throat in the tavern, making hungry people breathe together. Orren, alive somewhere above. Coming. She gripped the chair back, because standing had become less certain. And me? Volos said nothing. Was I meant to die? No. Too quick? No, not too quick. Too exact. Was I meant to be here? The silence, after that, was different. Pell looked at Volos, and then down at his own feet. Nim slowly closed his eyes. The blue fire made a low sound, almost like a log settling, though there were no logs. Volos said, No. Evara did not believe him, not because he lied, because the house beneath her feet warmed when he said it, a slow warmth, recognizing, listening. Volos felt it too. She knew because his hand tightened once on the arm of his chair. Only once. Then the chamber stilled. Evara stepped away from the chair. The house did not follow, not with walls, not with doors, but she felt its attention shift with her, like the gaze of someone in another room hearing a floorboard. I want to see where I am, she said. You have seen enough for one death. I did not ask what was enough. Pell put both hands over his eyes again. Nim murmured, Boldness is not a survival strategy. Boldness is what survivors rename afterward. Volos looked at Evara for a long time. What would you do with sight? He asked. Learn what can hurt me, and if nothing here can, then I would learn what can own me. The blue fire rose, not high. Enough. Volos inclined his head slightly. Pell's mouth dropped open. Nim's fingers stopped moving. Pell and Nim will accompany you, Volos said. Pell said, My lord. Nim said, Of course, my lord, in the exact tone of someone hearing his sentence pronounced. Volos continued, You will go where the house permits. Evara narrowed her eyes. And where it does not, you will discover the difference. That sounds unsafe. Yes, at least he did not dress danger in silk. Evara looked at the leaf-carved chair again. Can I leave this room whenever I wish? Yes. And the house? No. The word was plain. Volos did not soften it. Evara nodded because screaming would change nothing, and because nodding made Pell look less likely to faint. She turned toward the chamber door. The threshold line had appeared again. Before she crossed it, Volos spoke. Evara Solm. She stopped. Her name still felt weighed. She looked back. He had not moved from his chair by the blue fire. The table stood between them, with its empty plate. The second chair waited in shadow. The records slept, or pretended to. You may return to that chair, he said. The one she had sat in remained beside the fire, angled toward warmth that was not quite warmth. Nothing will be asked of you while you sit. The offer found its place exactly. Too exactly. Evara thought of her father's house, where every chair had meant a task, waiting when she stood, of the low beam, where sitting meant buying or being seen not buying. Of Orren's floor, where she had sat, because standing hurt and because the road behind her had burned. Of the ship, where the cot had become almost safe, just before the door slammed. Nothing will be asked of you while you sit. She should not want that. She did. So she looked Volos in the face and said, "That is a dangerous thing to offer a tired woman." "Yes," he said. She crossed the threshold before she could sit again. Pell and Nim scrambled after her. The wall opened into a corridor that had not been there before. Evara did not ask whether Volos had made it, or the house had. Behind her, the blue fire did not brighten. The song did not resume. Not until she had walked far enough that the chamber should have been out of hearing. Then, faintly, through stone and floor, and the ache beneath her burned hand, Volos began to sing again. Evara kept walking, but slower.
Rain on the sill, salt in the flame. When the door goes quiet and the room lets go, lay the last word gently where the dark runs slow.
There is still a road under ash, under rain. There is still a voice trying not to break. Carry the song through the dark and the foam. Carry the name when the cold calls home. Leave one small light where the lost can remain. I will find you by listening. You will know me by name.
Rain on the sill,
Salt in the flame. The door goes quiet. Carry